Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. All right, good evening, everybody. And we are tracking storms on this Memorial Day afternoon. Just getting things ready as we continue to watch these storms. I want to make sure my audio is working okay. Sounds just fine. If you have any questions, guys, feel free to comment down below. We'll be looking at the entire area from the Hill Country to the Rio Grande del Rio towards San Antonio. So we have a lot to break down. Sounds like the audio is working a-okay. All right, so let me turn this on, and we are looking good. Okay, so now the storms are drifting farther south into Bernie. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, audio is working a-okay. Again, guys, feel free to comment down below if you want to zoom into your neighborhood, into your area. Right now, the north side of San Antonio is a little active. You'll notice out near Lake Hills, Bernie, Bandera, it's getting a little electrical, right? A pretty large thunderstorm that has kind of combined. These were two different cells as they moved in from the Hill Country. Now they've combined into pretty one large thunderstorm that stretches from Bandera County towards Bernie and towards Kendall County. Comfort just got hit with some pretty good rain in the last hour. Received some video from Comfort, Texas, around 4 o'clock earlier this afternoon of some pretty good rainfall in the area. Zooming into Helotes and towards Timberwood Park, you can see some showers are forming ahead of this particular line and cluster of rain. And where you're looking at, if you look very closely in northern San Antonio, the northwestern part of Bexar County, towards Bernie, towards Comfort, there is a flash flood aerial advisory in effect until 7:45 tonight, meaning rain, storms will linger at least for the next couple hours. They'll go slow. And why that's very important, because if these storms are producing lightning, likely they're producing rainfall rates up to 2 to 3 inches per hour. And if they're going slow, if they're just drifting across the region from the Hill Country towards San Antonio, they're going to drop some pretty good rainfall in a very short amount of time. And that's what could result in some minor flooding, some high water spots on roads, bridges, overpasses, and roads across San Antonio. Zooming out, you'll see between here and Timberwood Park, the farther east you go, it's quiet. So if you're traveling on I-35 in the next 30 minutes, you're okay. However, anywhere north and northwest of the city is where it gets a little active, from Bandera, Lake Hills towards Kerrville. And zooming in, you'll see Helotes, a pretty good downpour that it is generating some lightning. Now, from what I've seen, it's not generating any hail. The only hail that's been picked up in the area was out in Comfort. That was very small hail. And just west of Bernie, this particular large thunderstorm was generating a hail core upwards of quarter-size hail that's 1 inch in diameter. However, in the last 5 minutes, we checked on it, and we'll check on it coming up in just a bit. But that last hail core that was west of Bernie really collapsed in on itself. We have some upper-level support to go with these thunderstorms, so they are going to produce and will be capable of hail, but right now hail is not a large threat. It's mainly cloud-to-ground lightning, localized heavy rain, minor flooding as they drift farther south into the area. And it's mainly just north into the Hill Country right now. But notice from the rim towards Helotes, Six Flags, towards Fair Oaks Ranch, it's getting active. And as a matter of fact, there's a ton of lightning associated with this. So let's see if I can control it. I guess not. But look at this. You can see flash flood advisories in effect until, there we go, perfect, until 7:45 tonight. That includes Bandera and Kendall County. So it's 4:38 right now. So it's going to be another couple hours as this rain kind of moves through. But again, based on forecast guidance, it looks like it's going to move through slowly, which could lead to the threat of some minor flooding in some areas. It's not going to be a widespread threat, but rain is certainly going to be possible, especially around the San Antonio metro through 5 and 6 o'clock, and especially across the hill country. However, if you're watching from Kerrville, most of the rain is out. However, there are a few showers and a few storms in Gillespie County, kind of lingering behind this first initial line. And notice right between, let's say, 281 Canyon Lake and Bernie, it's about 22 miles in distance. And these storms are drifting more towards the south and not so much east, but they will cross I-10 and move towards 1604, likely by about, I would say, 5 to 5:30 in the next 30 to 45 minutes. So eastern portions of Bandera County and even towards the northern side of Bandera County, there's even another cluster of rain on the back side of the system. So heads up for Utopia, anywhere west of Bandera, north of Hondo, and this is going to be a good drink of water for Medina Lake. It is right over the northern side of Medina Lake, or at least north of it, about to cross over into Medina County. And you'll see, you know, on the northern side of San Antonio, additional development has formed from Helotes towards the Rim, Chavano Park, towards Fair Oaks Ranch, towards the Dominion. And that's the first area of rain that we've seen so far in the San Antonio region on the northwest side of Bexar County. There we go. Let's see if I can manipulate it. There we go. Perfect, perfect. So if I zoom in and show you this particular thunderstorm right over Beckman and Cross Mountain, it's not so much in Helotes as we speak, but it's right over I-10. And from there, let's say De Zavala, right? Yeah, so here's De Zavala, right? So if you are in the De Zavala area or even the Huebner Oaks area, that's where you're really on the tail end or right on the edge of the storm. It could be just light to moderate rain right now, but on De Zavala as of 4:40 p.m., there's De Zavala right there. There's UTSA Boulevard. That's a moderate to heavy rain the farther northwest you go on I-10 and towards the 1604 loop. That's where it gets really heavy. And these are producing some lightning. It's not as electrical as the storm up farther north into the hill country, but this is just the start. I do anticipate kind of more isolated storms to form ahead of this initial line. So that's the 1604 I-10 area, and notice that green polygon that's extending now into northwestern Bexar County. That's a flash flood advisory, not a warning, but would not be surprised if we may see one pop up in the next couple hours just because of how slow they may move through about 5 and 6 o'clock. But notice that's northwestern San Antonio right now. Downtown, you're quiet. Southern side of Bexar County, San Antonio, you're quiet. St. Hedwig, you're dry. But the farther west you go into Castroville, you can see the coverage of rain and storms do pop up and increase out near Devine, down I-35, and towards Hondo on Highway 90. So we're going to get some rain, southeast area. Yeah, Paul, so give it some time. I'll put on the track. So look at this. This is the last 45 minutes. And if you look at the movement of these storms, Paul, and if anyone's asking, they are drifting farther south. They're riding the upper level flow and they're just moving farther south. So, it's right now northwestern San Antonio, the Rim, the Dominion, Fair Oaks Ranch, near Helotes. That's where they're cashing in on more of the heavy rain right now. But notice the movement. It's drifting farther south. So it's going to move into the San Antonio metro, that's for sure. But probably give it some time. So I would say about 5:30, it's likely moving into the west side of San Antonio, if not already in the downtown area by about 5:30, if not earlier than that, because you can see additional development is forming right there. And right over 1604 and Chavano Park, between there and, let's see, what road is that? So Vance Jackson and 1604. This is right east of the Rim and east of La Cantera, and I'm going to stop the clock right there. That pink color you're seeing on radar, that's reflecting at least a pretty large updraft and, more importantly, some hail. Doesn't look too impressive. That's the good news. So just outside of Bernie, we can see a little bit of small hail, just pea-sized hail, nothing too impressive. That's north of Fair Oaks Ranch. That's as of 4:43 on this Monday, Memorial Day. There is some small hail right over the Dominion. So feel free to send in your photos or your video to kens5.com, to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're watching from this area, there is, based on what we see on radar, obviously heavy rain, lightning, but also some pea to maybe nickel-size hail over I-10 and the Dominion. So that's what I was watching over on reflectivity right here. So on top of the flood aerial advisory, right over here. So that was the Dominion, right? So just east of the Dominion and towards 1604, it's that pocket of maroon to dark red to pink. And that is indicative at least of some small hail. And as of what we saw right now, more so just pea-size hail. Remember, for it to be considered severe threat level hail, it has to be quarter size or larger, which is 1 inch in diameter of hail. So that's less than a quarter, and regardless, heavy rain, lightning, pretty large and heavy rainfall between I-10 and 1604. Again, that's just south of the Dominion and near that area as well. So as a matter of fact, that's actually a separate hail core. So we'll go back to, we'll stop the clock. So over the Dominion, over I-10, right here, Cross Mountain, pea-size hail, and then a second hail core has formed. That's what I was watching on radar, right near Chavano Park and 1604. So basically from where, you know, Topgolf is and Andretti, and then the farther down 1604 you go, past UTSA, past the rim, towards Stone Oak. So anywhere from, let's say, Chavano Park and 1604 and I-10, that's where this small hail core is and producing upwards of pea-size hail at this hour. And if you're wondering if it's moving in your direction, so again, this was only 1 to 2 small cells, and it has combined into a pretty large cell outside of Cross Mountain and over I-10 and 1604. And you'll see as I put this back into motion, these are the last 45 minutes, the last 45 frames on radar. It's really widespread from Bandera to Bernie, but you can kind of see the trend, right? As it drifts farther south and southeast, it's almost increasing in coverage. It's encountering very humid air, and those south and southeast winds that have been cranking in so much humidity the last couple of days, that sets up the stage for more rain. So it's almost like this storm, it's an outflow boundary or just a cell that's moving farther south, and the winds are colliding with it, almost igniting even more rain ahead of the initial line of storms. So that's the action right now, and that's just testament to this. You can see in southern Medina County, more kind of scattered cells are starting to form between Divine, Hondo, Highway 90, I-35, and Lytle. Lytle's dry right now, but we have some storms that are moving towards Hondo, right over Moore, and moving into a rural part of southern Medina County and towards Highway 90 and Hondo. So heads up for Hondo. But the biggest cell and the largest thunderstorm on radar as of right now is right over the hill country, Bandera, Bernie, and northwestern San Antonio. Just to answer your question, I know Paul asked this earlier, it's drifting towards at least central and western San Antonio. We'll have to see if it's going to head towards St. Hedwig. It has that south movement to it, so I will say a pretty good chance this impacts most of central and western San Antonio, but depending on how far east it drifts, it may not impact like Schertz or St. Hedwig or Elmendorf. However, it really looks more likely central, downtown, pointing west will be more of the focal point for rain. Now, that's not to say St. Hedwig won't see rain. It's just what I'm seeing right now. It has more of that southerly drift. You can see kind of right over Bernie. It was moving southeast, but now it's kind of redirecting farther south. But keep in mind, on that eastern side, more storms are developing and moving farther north into Fair Oaks Ranch. So there's a lot going on here. There's actually a mid to high level wave overhead, and that's what's causing the upper level support and lift in the atmosphere to get rain going with the help of daytime heat, temperatures in the 80s right now, and of course, a lot of humidity. Now, with that spin in the atmosphere, right, of course, with that support, we have some hail. Right now, as of 4:48 p.m., it's mostly just small hail. It's not severe level threat hail. And we have one pocket just north of Lake Hills and north of Medina Lake. And where you're seeing these gray shades, that is reflecting hail inside the thunderstorm itself. Lightning, heavy rain, but also the small hail core. And I say small because it is up to pea-size hail. It is not reflecting nickel or quarter-size hail, But we'll have to watch it very closely because the storm that was out near Bernie, around 4:30, 4:15, it was generating up to quarter-size hail, but collapsed very quickly and it decayed pretty fast. So that's hail tracker. That's the thunderstorm itself. Same flood advisory in effect until 7:45 for Bandera and Kendall County. That is including Bernie, towards eastern Bandera County, Lake Hills, Bandera, and even northwestern portions of Bexar County. It's kind of like the Fair Oaks Ranch Dominion area. That's where that large thunderstorm is kind of separated and moving around Bernie towards the northern side of San Antonio. So it's actually stretching from Cross Mountain all the way pretty much near Stone Oak. Now, Stone Oak's right around this area, right, 281, but that's Hardy Oak Drive, right? So that's Hardy Oak Drive. This is is that, no, that's not Blanco. That is Blanco. That is Blanco Road. So right around Blanco Road, pointing west towards the rim, that's where it gets heavier, and the lighter rain and the lighter activity, if not just cloudy and dry, is a lot farther east. Heavier rain is farther west towards Chavano Park, the rim, La Cantera, and near Six Flags. So that's one large thunderstorm, right? There's also another cluster of rain from Lake Hills to Bernie. And earlier we checked hail tracker. Right now it's just small hail. However, as of the last frame, 4:50 on this Memorial Day, you'll notice that it is generating a little bit larger hail right here between I-10, 1604, and there's no streets right here, but it's east of I-10, on the other side of I-10. So I'm trying to think. So right around here, right? So between I-10 and 1604, that's kind of the rim shopping area. So that is generating heavy rain, some pea-sized hail, but the farther north you go of I-10 and 1604 is this little pocket of nickel-sized hail. Again, that's not considered severe. It's when you get to quarter-size hail, it starts to really do damage. So we're at pea to nickel size as of 4:50 tonight. And on top of heavy rain, that's also the big story. In addition to flood aerial advisories, I wanted to check this real quick. This is velocity. This will show you straight line winds, gusty wind speeds, and even the potential for any rotation. Now, nothing of that nature is around, and this has not, I mean, when we looked at this earlier this morning, in the last couple of days, this was not a severe threat level rain event. However, it is producing gusty winds, let's say near 20 to 30 miles an hour. So it's pretty much kind of the outflow of these thunderstorms that are producing pretty high winds, but at that point it's not considered severe. Anything above 58 is considered severe. So these are just gusty, breezy winds, and the main threat is heavy rain and, of course, the small to moderate size hail around the northwestern side of San Antonio. Let's zoom out and show other communities. So it started out in the hill country, right, and even north into West Texas from earlier today and drifted farther south, kind of encountered daytime heat, and you kind of have a perfect recipe for pretty good rain. Now, in the hill country, Gillespie County, pretty much the central and western half of Gillespie County is under an advisory until 6:30 tonight. Most of the heaviest rain looks like has come to an end, so good news for Harper, Stonewall, and Fredericksburg, pretty much all of Gillespie County. But notice, I'll put this into motion, we have more rain kind of moving in farther from the north and drifting farther south. So that's why this advisory is in effect until at least 6:30. If not 7, we have an additional warning issued by the Weather Service for central and northern portions of Gillespie County until 7:15, because you can kind of see the movement of these rain showers and thunderstorms moving in from north to south, and they'll continue to do that at least through 6 o'clock tonight. But notice, southern side of San Antonio, Bexar County, St. Hedwig, Elmendorf, Live Oak towards Somerset. That entire chunk of Bexar County is quiet, but we have more rain forming as this line, as this storm, as this cell starts to move farther south into the eastern part of Medina County and western half of Bexar County. And again, I would say right now, from what the storm's doing and how its movement is from Bernie towards northern San Antonio, it kind of looks like it's just going directly south, meaning west side of San Antonio from here to SeaWorld, Petrenko Road, Culebra, Helotes, and Highway 90 west into Castroville. Likely going to see the bulk of this rain as it moves through. In addition to that, you'll notice out near Helotes, Hollywood Park, Cross Mountain, Scenic Oaks, all seeing some pretty good action as we speak, as this storm continues to drive its way farther south. And remember, daytime heat, temperatures in the 80s, plenty of moisture and humidity in the air is going to help with its production and with its strength as it continues to move into a very favorable and conducive environment the farther south it goes. Into Medina County, Medina Lake, which would be perfect, right? Medina Lake's like at 5% full. So I think this would just be a great drink of water for a lot of folks. Drought has really backed off and improved a lot in the last several weeks. This spring has been great and beneficial, and this is a great look at just more of these spring showers and storms as they move farther south into Lake Hills, Bernie, northern San Antonio, and Bexar County. And kind of outside of that region, right? So, I mean, Gonzales is considered in our viewing area. So between Luling and Gonzales and Yoakum and Hallettsville, there is another kind of cluster of rain, non-severe out there. More rain out towards the coastal bend near Victoria, towards Houston, more isolated activity. And even towards Alice and the coastal bend, Duval County and Jim Wells County, Alice, near Hebronville, and there's Owl Ranch and Freer over there. That's what I was trying to remember, Freer. But again, that's kind of outside our viewing area. Right now, it's the hill country that's continuing to get soaked at this point in time. Camp Bullis, yeah. Camp Bullis probably seeing some pretty good rain. That's right between I-10 and 281 in Stone Oak. So Camp Bullis seeing some pretty good rain as we speak as well. How's Devine looking? Devine, it is looking okay. Let's see. Devine's right over here. So Devine, let me see. Yeah, so a lot of folks asking about Devine. So Devine's dry at the moment, but there are storms around. None of these are severe, but this one's producing some pretty good lightning out near Castroville and Hondo along Highway 90. We'll put this back into motion. We're keeping an eye on hail, guys. As of right now, there was one hail core west of Bernie around the 4:30 hour that was producing quarter-sized hail, but that has since fallen apart. And speaking of falling apart, the hail core that's over the Dominion, Chavano Park, that's starting to weaken. It was generating nickel-sized hail, but now it is very weak. It is producing lightning and some heavy rain, but the hail threat with this particular storm on the northwest side of San Antonio has really minimized in the last couple minutes, so that's the good news. And again, gusty winds and straight line winds, not really a huge threat with these storms. It's really just cloud to ground lightning and some very small hail, and of course, just some pretty heavy rain. Localized downpours of rain could be possible in the next half hour, especially the west and north side of San Antonio. Zooming out, you can see radar is picking up on wind speeds around 10 to 20 to 25 miles an hour. It's not too impressive. So, you know, velocity, not really a huge threat. Hail, not really producing anything as of this hour, aside from that pea-sized hail core out near the north side. It's really just heavy rain. So right now we're going to leave it on looping for the moment. And notice we have some additional rains falling where it needs to fall, right? This is where the drought's pretty bad in western Bandera County, west of Kerrville, and this is all good for the watershed, right, for the aquifer. This is all falling where it needs to fall in northwestern portions of our viewing area towards the hill country. So more rain moving through. As of 4:57, it is mainly in north and northwestern sides of San Antonio. Between Stone Oak and Helotes and towards Fair Oaks Ranch is where that one large cluster of rain is at, producing some lightning. And that does extend from Bernie towards Bandera and even over Medina County, Lake Hills and near Medina Lake, which would be great for Medina Lake. And then additional development near Hondo, Castroville, Lytle, Devine, and some lightning over there as well. So again, guys, we'll leave it on the loop and just bear in mind, these storms are drifting farther south, so central, northern, and even western sides of San Antonio are likely going to see the heaviest rain through about 5:30 and 6 p.m. tonight as they move farther south. We'll keep the radar on. I'll be back in just a little bit, but we'll keep it on full screen for the latest on rain and storms here in the area. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. All right, everybody, we're back on radar, answering questions and dissecting and looking at all the rain that's out there. We have a lot of good rain and storm activity out in northwestern Bexar County, stretching from Stone Oak, I-10, 1604, and towards the west side. Your SeaWorld is really starting to come down and starting to kind of edge its way into the 1604 loop, again on the northwestern side of San Antonio and Bexar County. In addition to that, we have a lot of action. Let me make sure that's on. Perfect. And there's a lot of rain and moisture coming in and all from directions. And what I mean by that is most of the rain and storms are drifting in from the north, from the hill country. It's all where it started from earlier this afternoon around the 2 and 3 o'clock hour. And now by 5:30, it's now entering San Antonio. Now, the moisture, we have winds at the surface from the south and southeast. What that's doing is cranking in more moisture, more humidity, setting up the stage for more rain later on this evening. And notice most of the action is moving in from the north. However, notice from Divine, Hondo, I-35 to Highway 90, this one cell that's moving right over Hondo started in from the south, formed, lifted, built into a thunderstorm, and trying to form and drive farther north. And it's kind of colliding with the rain and storm action that's coming in from the hill country. So we have a lot of different components to the forecast tonight, and a big factor is the humidity and the amount of moisture that's already in place, and that's leading to a pretty good amount of rain forming in northern Medina County, northwestern Bexar County, and across the hill country. As a matter of fact, getting a lot of comments in from Kerrville, from Comfort, across the hill country from earlier this afternoon, I should say. Around the 4:30 hour and 4 o'clock, we saw some pretty good rain move through the hill country, of which dropped some good hail. Now, it wasn't, from what I've seen in the picture sent into the KENS 5 newsroom, it was small hail, like pea to nickel to maybe quarter-size hail in the Kerrville area. So again, feel free to send in your photos, because when you send in your content and your anything you shoot on your phone, it helps us kind of verify that the rain that's happening and storms that are falling and moving through the area are producing what we see they are. As a matter of fact, we've been keeping an eye on Hail Tracker. And some of these storms, while not all of them they have been producing very small hail. It's been pea-sized hail, very small in diameter. There was some quarter-size hail outside of Bernie from earlier today, but it wasn't impressive. And as a matter of fact, that particular hail core rained out, collapsed, and that's kind of the trend with these storms. They move farther south. They have some support in the upper levels, but they're not long-living, long-track thunderstorms as they move across the area. But watching radar right now, it's 5:26. Out in Hondo, pretty good rain moving in. We'll start from the south and the western side of the area. This is Medina County. Pretty good rain from Medina Lake right now. That's always a great sign, just because Medina Lake has been lacking water for a while. It's at 5% full right now, so anything does help, especially in Medina County. But Hondo, some lightning. This is not producing any hail. This is some cloud-to-cloud lightning and heavy rain. Some of these storms are producing rainfall rates between 1 and 2 inches per hour, and some localized cells are upwards of 3 inches per hour. Now, not to say you're going to see all that at once, just because these are moving south. So they will be moving very quickly. However, based on what we're seeing, especially in the hill country, they are losing speed. And notice kind of on the last 45 minutes, they have that south movement, but they're falling in very similar places. In addition to that, rain is forming on the backside of these storms. So it's leading to more rain falling in a very short amount of time. So Bandera County, most of the entire county area for Bandera into Bernie, Kendall County, northwestern Bexar County, into Kendall County. That is where we have flood aerial advisories until 7:45 later on tonight, impacting about 25,000 people as of right now. Now, we have more rain forming in San Antonio. I'll stop the clock and show you what we got. Some lightning. And again, around the 5 o'clock hour, some of these storms were producing very small hail, pea-sized hail at best. So that's not severe weather criteria, but it can still do damage, right? But the main component and likely main threat of these storms is just really heavy rain and lightning. So remember, when thunder roars, you head indoors. And right now, hail is not a big threat as of this hour because a lot of the hail cores are just collapsing. They don't have a lot of support in the upper levels to get the hail core started and, more importantly, to make it last long. But Helotes seeing some pretty good rain right now. I'll zoom into communities between here, Leon Valley, Oakland Estates. So this is the northwest side of San Antonio. So this is where it's really starting to fall down between SeaWorld 151, Petranco Road and Culebra Road, and near Alamo Ranch, as a matter of fact. So there's Culebra, right? So here's Culebra Road. That's Culebra right there. And just south is Petranco. More of a moderate to heavy rain between Petranco and Alamo Ranch, kind of hit or miss rain. More of the lightning, the larger part of the stronger thunderstorm is kind of across the county line towards Medina County. So when you compare parts of the storm, it is heavy in western San Antonio, but it's a lot heavier in eastern Medina County, where a lot of the lightning is reaching heights of like 30 to 40,000 feet. As a matter of fact, we can actually check that. So that's radar as of 5:30 tonight, this evening. Take a look. So we'll slice this in half. So between Castroville and western San Antonio, if I adjust the camera tool and show you kind of how tall this thunderstorm is, it's not severe, but on the west side of San Antonio, 20,000 feet, but on the eastern side of Medina County, it's upwards of 40,000 feet. So it shows you the strength of the storm, and you can kind of tell by lightning tracker where most of the rain is heavy in San Antonio, but the lightning is really abundant and more widespread and electrical in eastern Medina County. But anyway, between Culebra Road, UTSA, Helotes, and 1604 east towards I-10 is where it gets pretty heavy, right? This thunderstorm is probably reaching heights of 40,000 feet. Not generating much in the way of hail. Again, we've tracked this for the last couple hours. A lot of these hail cores are having a difficulty just maintaining its heights. And remember, hail cores need a large distance in the upper levels of the atmosphere to get going, and they're just not that large. And as a matter of fact, as of 5:31, there is no hail out there. Maybe right over 1604. This is just outside of the rim. That's very, very small hail, pea-sized hail. But otherwise, very quiet in regarding hail. It's more of the lightning, the thunder, and the heavy rain that is stretching from Medina County, Hondo. It's about to enter Castroville, so heads up for anyone in Castroville. It's moving through in about 15 minutes. The northwestern side of San Antonio getting slammed with a lot of rain right now. So again, anywhere from Petranco Road, north of Highway 90, and all the way to Stone Oak, that's where the rain is most abundant right now. Not so much hail producing, more of a lightning and heavy rain threat as of this hour. In addition to that, we also keep a track on velocity, but it's not producing much in the way of gusty straight line winds. For the most part, it's just a pretty good rain-making thunderstorm at this hour. Now, on top of that, we've talked about this the last couple hours. We do have a couple of flood advisories, and this one's actually a flood warning issued from the Weather Service. This does include Bernie. So advisories kind of on the minor scale, on the lower threat, but when you talk about flash flood warnings, which this one is in effect until 7:45, rain that's fallen, which we'll take a look at precip rates and even rainfall estimates. Probably in the Bernie area, northern San Antonio towards Kendall County and Bandera County, rain that's already fallen, probably on the order of 1 to 3 inches of rain. That's a very large amount of rain in a short amount of time. I mention that because with the rain that's already fallen, with moderate rain still falling in Bernie and this part of the hill country and in the viewing area, any rain that falls will continue to just fall as runoff. And that can lead to high water spots on roads, ponding, minor flash flooding. Good news, this rain should be done probably by about 7 to 8 o'clock tonight. But it's really between now and 6:30 that continues to fall for the rain that may lead to some minor flooding in the Bernie area for this evening. That'll probably continue for northern and northwestern San Antonio as well. And I do think this warning is in effect for northern portions of Bexar County. But this does stretch into Bernie. You can see there's different polygons, different green areas from Kerrville. Is this a flood warning? This is an advisory. So you can see Kerrville kind of seeing a break-in activity. North of Kerrville, some light to moderate rain. But the thing is, for comfort and more importantly, Bernie, the rain's not stopping. So continuous rainfall is going to lead to the threat for a few high water spots. They're at least 6:30, if not 7 o'clock tonight. The farther west you go into Bandera, I mean, the entire county is under a flood advisory until 8 o'clock tonight. That is Bandera and portions of Kerr County. But notice, I mean, this is great news for the aquifer, for the watershed, for the drought, because notice between Utopia, Bandera, and Lake Hills, it's kind of scattered, but notice it's more widespread north of Utopia and western halves of Bandera County. A lot of rain, a lot of thunder, and even in a rural part outside of Lakey, heads up for Lakey, because this is moving farther south, this is showing a core on radar. We'll look at hail tracker in just a bit, but this is showing that pink color, which can be indicating some very small to maybe quarter-size hail in rural parts of Bandera County, just outside of Lakey. As a matter of fact, that's radar. Before we take a look at hail tracker again. Again, northwestern sides of San Antonio, really just heavy rain. A lot of the hail has collapsed, and it's not a threat at this point. Right now, it's just lightning, thunder, and some localized very heavy rain in the area, which is great news. It's welcomed. This will likely bring our monthly rainfall to near average for San Antonio. So this is good news for the drought and the aquifer and water restrictions here in the area. So that's radar. It's 5:35, right? So we were talking about Lakey, and we do have a severe storm warning that does include, I think, Lakey actually. This just popped up. So for Bandera and Real County, this includes Utopia and Lakey until 6:30 tonight. So for the next 55 minutes, a severe storm warning. And gusty winds on the order of like 20 to 40 miles an hour, certainly possible. But more importantly, hail. So that's radar producing a lot of lightning, right? And if you look now, this is important. So look at this. So this hail tracker. So this taking away reflectivity, substituting hail tracker in northwestern San Antonio. You can see even towards downtown, very small hail, pea-sized hail, and that's about it. It's mostly just heavy rain and lightning in the San Antonio metro as of 5:36 p.m. Now you move farther west where that severe storm warning is issued, just outside of Lakey, and there it is. There's that hail core. Now, it's very isolated. It's in rural parts of Real County and Bandera County, and it is moving farther south. Now, the trend with these hail cores for the last couple hours, yes, we have daytime heat. Yes, we have some upper-level support and some wind speeds to get rain going, but I do foresee by likely about 5:45, if not earlier than that, this hail core will probably rain out and collapse because of the upper level support, the wind shear factor, it's just not there. With that being said, Highway 83 and northeast of Lakey, just a heads up, rain is moving in your direction. That's probably the main takeaway, but I'll stop the clock right there, 5:36. This is indicating quarter size, if not larger than that. This is hail size up to about 1.5 inches. That's probably around ping pong size hail. That's over the threat and criteria of severe threat hail. So that'll do damage. But luckily and thankfully, it's in a rural part of Real County. In addition to that, we'll watch it for the next 30 minutes, for the next hour, obviously. But from what we've seen in hail cores earlier this evening in Kendall County and in Kerr County from around 4 and 4:30, a lot of these hail cores, they'll build and then they'll collapse very quickly. And I do think the main threat tonight is just very heavy rain in a short amount of time. Zooming back out, notice we have another flood area advisory that is reissued and extended for a big chunk of Medina County and even southern, central, and western portions of Bexar County. It's a lot of Bexar County. Now, we were talking earlier, these storms have that southerly track to them. They're drifting farther south, almost due south, and meaning you can see kind of the outline of this flood advisory, meaning I would say from Somerset to downtown to the north side, pointing farther west. That's where the bulk of the rain is going to fall between now and likely 7 o'clock tonight. With that being said, if you're in Seguin, Universal City, maybe a light shower tonight, but it's mainly just like slicing San Antonio in half, right? And on the western side of San Antonio and the western side of Bexar County is where most of the rain is going to fall in the next 1 to 2 hours, and not so much action for St. Hedwig. We'll watch it, and some of the storm activity could branch off and then branch off and then move farther east, but it looks like the chunk of rain that's out there right now and the bulk of heavy downpours is really going to fall and occur in central and western San Antonio. What does it look like in Divine? Alan says. So let me turn up the audio real quick, guys. Let me make sure this is good. I want to make sure my audio is working a-okay. Mic check 1, 2. Sound better, guys? Perfect, perfect. All right, that sounds a lot better. Okay, so this is another look at radar. So we were talking about, guys, it's mostly just central and western San Antonio that's going to cash in on most of the rain tonight. But we're watching very closely at, hail tracker, velocity. As a matter of fact, let's look at this right here. We'll go back to the hail core. But notice this. So I'm going to clear this out, and these are 1-hour rainfall rates. And I'll do the last 45 minutes. So this is showing thunderstorms, but the amount of rainfall falling in the thunderstorms. So ranging from 1/10 to up to 10 inches of rain, right? Where it's pink, that's reflecting upwards of 3 inches per hour. Now, that's misleading just because these storms don't sit over the same spot in 1 hour, but it shows you kind of where the heaviest storms are at. And as of right now at 5:40 on this Monday evening, Memorial Day, you will see as I stop the clock, it's 5:40. The heaviest storm is right over I-10, the Dominion, Chavano Park. That's where the heaviest storm, where you're seeing the brighter, more vibrant colors. Obviously, rain everywhere, but the more vibrant the color, the heavier the rain and the stronger the thunderstorm. Again, in the San Antonio metro, hail is not a big threat right now. It's mainly out west. It's mainly just heavy rainfall rates and maybe minor flash flooding in some of these areas that receive upwards of 3 to 4 inches in a very short amount of time. So you'll notice I-10 crossing over Chavano Park and near De Zavala. It almost stretches out near De Zavala, right, on I-10 towards downtown. That's indicating upwards of 2 to 3 inches per hour, right? That's a 1.5. That's up to 1.73. Out in Helotes, it's pretty heavy, 1.79. Gray Forest, 0.9. And again, it can be a little misleading just because it's not sitting over one spot for an hour, but it is showing you how heavy the thunderstorm is based on radar and what we're extrapolating from the data. So we will erase that. We'll show you kind of zooming out. We'll show you that's 1 hour rainfall rate. So it's more of a moderate to heavy rain from Bandera towards SeaWorld, towards the west side of San Antonio, towards Medina. That's where it's really heavy. Outside of Castroville on the north side of Hondo. Oh, Hondo's getting some good action. So that's where rain is pretty heavy right now. So again, that's just another way of looking at radar, another capability of dual polarization radar. It can look at velocity. It can look at hail tracker. It can look at different, varieties of data, and it really can extrapolate data and show you different kinds of it. So it's really cool. But anyway, so here's a flood aerial advisory for central San Antonio. This is where most of the rain is falling through. Of course, turn up the volume. Okay, so I want to make sure the audio is working okay. Sounds good to me. But yeah, make sure if you guys can't hear me, let me know and I can adjust it later on. But from what I see and hear right now, it sounds okay. Okay, perfect. Pea-sized hail in Kerrville, Rosie says. Yeah, that was from earlier this afternoon. Is any of this going to hit New Braunfels or Seguin? Yeah, good question, Nicole. So, doesn't look like it. It looks like most of the action is going to stay west of I-35. Now, with that being said, there is some moderate to light rain moving near Bulverde, near the 281 corridor, northbound, right, towards Johnson City. But if you look at this particular graphic, and I'll zoom out, these are the last 45 minutes of data on the radar, you can kind of see how the rain's moving. It's moving in from north to south and moving kind of directly farther south. Now, with that being said, there is some additional development on that eastern side of action near 281, crossing over Bitters Road and North Loop and Alamo Heights. So there is a chance that some of this kind of extends towards Windcrest and Kirby, but I would say, if you slice San Antonio in half, down the middle, it's mainly the west side of Bexar County that's going to see most of the rain this evening. The east side of San Antonio, like when we look at rain totals later on tonight, it's going to be west side of San Antonio, Bexar County, all the rain. The east side, not much, maybe a sprinkle or a light shower. But the action, the thunder showers are moving right through downtown and the west side of San Antonio. Right now it's crossing over Highway 90 as we speak. Now, speaking of, we have an additional flood advisory in effect until 8:45. That does include downtown, just outside of Somerset, from I-35 south into Laredo towards Highway 90. Where the rain's falling right now, it's heavy. Stopping the clock right over 410 Valley High. This is west of Lackland, where it's a little bit more heavy. There's Wolf Stadium, Leon Valley, and it's really the west side of San Antonio where it's really coming down. That's Marbach Road. So there's Petrenko, there's Rivercrest, there is Highway 90. Is this Marbach right here? This has to be. Let me see. Yes, that is Marbach. There is Marbach. And that does all go all the way to 410. So from Marbach to Petrenko Road, all the way down to like the communities down Petrenko Road, like Redbird Ranch and, past Luna Middle School, and even near Wiseman Road near Brennan High School. That's where the rain's pretty heavy right now. And associated with that is a lot of lightning. And you are included, if you're watching from this area on the west side, is a flood advisory. So it's not a flood warning, it's an advisory, meaning it's not as high on the threat level. So right now, just pretty good rain. We'll keep an eye on hail tracker, but again, the only hail core that's out there is out near Lakey in Real County and San Antonio. Notice, just for comparison, there's one hail core, which was a severe storm in northern Real County. Now it's starting to collapse, just like we talked about earlier. It's not a lot of upper level support with these thunderstorms. They're powerful, they're producing a lot of lightning, but they're not long track, long living thunderstorms in the area. So there is hail out there, but not so much in San Antonio. It's out near Bandera and mostly out near in a very rural part of Real County, producing upwards of nickel to quarter size hail at this hour. But San Antonio, it is mostly just heavy rain and lightning at this hour. Of course, when we're talking about severe threats, we're looking at strong straight line winds, velocity, no rotation from what I see. You can kind of see green and red popping up everywhere. Remember, green is going towards the radar and red is away from the radar, and I can actually sample some of this data. Wind speeds on the order outside of these thunderstorms, 13 to 15 miles an hour, not all that impressive. South of Hondo, 23 miles an hour. So again, these are not severe threat level wind speeds out there this evening. It's mostly just heavy rain and lightning. I mean, outside our studio, we can really hear it as of this hour. And as you can see, now embedded in some of these advisories are a couple of warnings. And from what I understand, it's mostly out in Bernie where the rain is really falling and continues to fall. And notice, so watch this. So we'll transition from a flood advisory as I zoom into flood areas like Bernie. That's where the flood warning is in effect until 7:45 tonight. So heads up for Bernie, northwestern San Antonio, and southern Kendall County, and even southern portions of Kerr County. From what we've been tracking all evening and afternoon long, it's really the focal point where in this area right here, a lot of the rain has fallen in the last couple hours. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 to 4 inches of rain has fallen since about 4 o'clock, which is only an hour and a half from earlier today. All right, guys, we'll leave this on for a little longer. Sandy, you love this weather. You can hear it perfectly. Perfect, yeah, perfect. The audio is working just okay. You are coming and going sound okay now. Thank you. Let me know if the sound goes in and out again, because we've been having that problem the last couple of weeks. Is any of this going to hit New Braunfels? Yeah, we talked about that, Nicole. Most of it is going to stay on the central and western side of San Antonio. It looks like anywhere east towards Schertz, Seguin, New Braunfels, San Marcos, mostly going to miss out on all this rain this evening. It's really just from downtown pointing west towards Hondo and the Hill Country is where a lot of the action is going to stay tonight. Hearing a lot of thunder outside our studios right now. And yeah, so some of the flood advisories in effect until 8:45 tonight. So for the next couple hours, rain's going to continue kind of on and off, but right now it looks like the heaviest action is on our doorstep. But yeah, this rain's great. It's beneficial. It's much needed. I think so far this spring we've picked up probably about 2.5 to 3 inches of rain in San Antonio. And if this falls at the airport, which hopefully it does, this will probably propel us to likely near average for May, which is great because historically May is a very wet month, as you can see on radar. But probably northwestern sides of San Antonio from Stone Oak towards SeaWorld, northwest Bexar County, likely going to pick up upwards of 1 to 3 inches of rain when it's all said and done tonight. So that's great news, which is why the Weather Service has issued flood advisories for that part of Bexar County and for the area. So again, severe threats are very low if you're just joining us. It's really just breezy winds, nothing too gusty or damaging. And regarding with straight line winds, not really much of a threat tonight. We've been keeping an eye on hail tracker, not much of a threat. We saw a hail core earlier today near Bernie, but really just collapsed in fast. There is another hail core out near Lakey and just near Real County, but that's starting to collapse as well. And right now it's just heavy rain and lightning at 5:49 on this Memorial Day. Yeah, so again, if you have any questions, guys, feel free to comment down below. So how much is going to hit Divine, Ryan? Let's see, Mr. Allen, Divine. So it looks like Divine is kind of in between systems right now. You can see a storm kind of moving farther west towards Hondo. And then you see another additional storm kind of about to move through crossover Highway 90. So for Divine, you're dry right now. So it is quiet in Divine, but likely rain's going to move in probably around 6:30 in the next 30 minutes or so. And likely drop, I would say, between 1/10 to maybe 1/4 of an inch on average. But there will be a couple of pockets of rain out near Divine that may receive up to 1 inch of rain. That's probably going to be the average for anywhere west on I-35 for the next hour or two. Bulk of rainfall, it's really in the hill country out west in Bandera County and northwestern Bexar County is where we're seeing a lot of the rainfall at this point in time. By what time will the storms be over? Likely probably around 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. Keep in mind, a lot of these storms are being driven by daytime heat. In the upper levels right now, we have a very weak spin in the atmosphere, a very weak disturbance. But what really helps touch off the rain, especially this time of day, is temperatures and heat, highs in the 80s and 90s. So as we cool down tonight, we kind of lose that steam in the atmosphere. So I would say after probably around 7 or 8 o'clock, especially after 8 p.m., I would say, even despite this flood advisory in effect until 8:45, I would say by and large after 8 o'clock tonight, a lot of this does come to an end. And by probably 9 or 10 o'clock, we are dry and just maybe a lingering shower, and that's about it. But again, these storms, these lightning, thunder showers, these are driven by daytime heat and upper level support. And we have daytime heat for now, but as temperatures cool down by 7, 8, 9 o'clock, we lose that part and that ingredient in severe weather and strong thunderstorms. So again, I do foresee probably in the next hour or two, we'll continue to see rain, but after about 8 o'clock, it should die down pretty quickly. These clouds are massive. Yes, Alan. Yeah. Oh man. So if you can, man, send in your photos and your videos from Divine because you have a pretty good vantage point. It's not raining in your area right now, but if you look north, I'm sure you're seeing it. The clouds are huge. You can probably see pretty tall thunderstorms up to like 20 to 30,000 feet, especially northwest towards Hondo. That's where the largest thunderstorm is at, with respect to Divine, pointing northwest. So yeah, feel free to send in your photos. That'd be great. Thank you for your updates. You keep us informed. Thank you, Robert. Of course. Yeah, we'll keep it on radar for the next hour or two as these storms move through. But again, it looks like western and central San Antonio are going to see the action, but eastern sides of Bexar County not going to see much for tonight. It's really the hill country towards Medina County that's going to see a lot of the rain. Flood advisories and flood warnings in effect until at least 7:30 to 8 o'clock tonight. That's including Bandera, Kendall, and Bexar County. Pretty good rain continues to move into our area, and there is a severe storm warning outside of San Antonio towards Utopia between Bandera and Real County. That's until 6:30 tonight. Again, we looked at hail tracker. That hail core has collapsed. Aside from some gusty winds for Lakey and Utopia, this is just some good, much needed rainfall for y'all and some lightning. So obviously lightning is going to be the biggest threat, so stay indoors. It may be a little loud in Lakey right now, but right now Lakey just light rain, and this is moving in your direction, Lakey. So the severe storm warning is included you and Utopia and eastern parts of Real County. But that's the only severe storm warning in the area. These other ones are just flood advisories, just kind of advising that some of the rain that continues to fall may lead to high water spots when you're driving out, and some lightning, some clouded ground lightning, and some localized heavy rain in the area. So that's it for right now until 7:45 for northern portions of Bexar County, Kendall County, Bandera County, and north of Highway 90 as of right now. We'll keep it on radar for a little longer, but right now just some good, much needed rain for San Antonio. right, we're back live, making sure the audio is working okay before we go live and talk about the rain that's falling in central and western San Antonio at this point in time. It's Memorial Day, and first half of the day was fine. It was dry, it was a little sunny, and highs were in the 80s, but now that's led and driven daytime thunderstorms to now move across the hill country and now currently moving across San Antonio as we speak. And it sounds just okay. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below, guys. We'll be tracking the storms for the next half hour. So far, nothing too severe. We have had a couple of storms produce some small hail in northwestern San Antonio, like pea-sized hail, but nothing that's up to quarter. We have seen also a couple of large hail cores that have been up to quarter-size hail outside of Bernie around the 4:30 hour and outside of Lakey. But now they have mainly collapsed. There's not a lot of support and wind shear in the atmosphere to maintain these thunderstorms in the evening hours. And as temperatures cool down, it's really going to lead to the decaying and weakening of these storms out there this evening. So that's radar the last 45 minutes. We'll stop the clock. We'll start from west to east. So we had a severe storm warning for Lakey, eastern portions of Real County and towards Utopia and western Bandera County, but that has since expired because of just the collapse and of this hail core. It didn't last very long. And most importantly, it's just heavy rain out near Lakey, Utopia, northern portions of Uvalde and north of Sabadon, Highway 90. Heads up for Sabadon and Uvalde. This is probably moving in your direction, probably around the 7:30 time frame. It's going to drift farther south and likely maintain its strength with lightning and some moderate to heavy rain. But between there and San Antonio, it's starting to fall apart, right? And more light to moderate rain out near Bandera County. However, we've seen a lot of rainfall fall in the last couple hours, and that's why most of the region in this green area between Hondo, I-35, Divine, and the Hill Country, all at least under some related flood aerial advisory or if not flood warning, especially between Bandera, Bernie, and southern portions of Kendall County. Rainfall amounts have probably been on the order of 1 to 3 inches of rain in this particular area of the region. From the southern hill country towards northern San Antonio, it's been really heavy at times, and any additional rain that falls will likely lead to high water spots, some minor flash flooding, which is why there's a flash flood warning in effect from Bandera and Kendall County for the next hour and a half until 7:45 tonight. But as of right now, 6:12 p.m., it's quiet in the hill country. You have some more rain drifting farther south. So the hill country may see some additional showers, but the heaviest bulk of rain is west of Kerrville, and that's producing some lightning, another heavy cluster of rain moving into Uvalde County, another thunderstorm drifting farther away from Hondo. So Hondo kind of cashed in on some rain, and now it's moving away from y'all. Castroville, kind of in the middle of things, light to moderate rain. Somerset getting hit pretty hard. We'll stop the clock, so heads up for Somerset. That's where it's really heavy. Between there, Von Ormy, Lytle, a lot of heavy rain, a lot of storm activity. From there and to Wolf Stadium, where Lackland Air Force Base is down the street. Highway 90 is getting soaked right now. And it does improve the farther west you go. However, the farther east to downtown you drive on Highway 90 towards I-37 and I-35 and 281. Towards the Alamo Dome, it gets pretty active between there, Wolf Stadium, Von Ormy, and the AT&T Center. Downtown San Antonio right here, included in a flood advisory as of right now, meaning these are heavy rains. And through about 8 o'clock, when it should start to die down, between now and 8 o'clock tonight, likely a couple of difficult traveling areas. So if you are in a neighborhood that's flood prone, I mean, you know your neighborhood. If you know it, like an inch of rain really starts to flood any low-lying areas, it's likely going to result in that in the next hour or two here in San Antonio. So downtown regions, some moderate to heavy rain. That's AT&T Center, Alamo Heights. Farther north on 281 towards Hollywood Park and Timberwood Park. That's where it starts to get a little bit more moderate to light. And again, lightning tracker is on, and you'll see the bulk of lightning is really primarily focused on the west side of San Antonio. I had a friend that texted me saying they haven't had a drop yet, and he's near Stone Oak and Bulverde Road, which is right east of 281. That's right here. So notice it's just like light rain, if not that, And it does get heavier the farther west you go to 281 Stone Oak, Castle Hills, Chavano Park, and towards 1604 and I-10 near the rim. That's where it gets pretty heavy and some lightning as well. Helotes had some good rain earlier this evening. Now it's moving out, more of a moderate rain at this point in time, but still included in a flood advisory. That green line you're seeing up towards Bernie is a flood warning, meaning that's where a lot of the rain has fallen in the last 3 to 4 hours. In addition to that, same thing with Lake Hills, Bandera. If you take a look, so that's Hail Tracker. Let's rewind that back, just make sure nothing's forming. Yeah, Hail Tracker. Hail has not been a main threat this evening. Neither has gusty winds. But here are some of the 1 hour rainfall rates. And I'll actually rewind it back 3 hours. So this is from 3:15 to 6:15, right? So we'll stop the clock right here as I zoom out. In the Hill Country, these showers and storms started, and daytime heat, they've really built into pretty powerful thunderstorms. Nothing too severe, but pretty large and heavy rainmakers. But as they pass through Bernie from earlier this evening, around 4 to 4:30 and into 5 o'clock, these rainfall rates were upwards of 2 to 3 inches per hour, which is a lot of rain in a short amount of time, which is why the Weather Service has issued flood warnings for Bernie and portions of Kendall County, and that does stretch into Kerr County as well, looks like. But there's a few different warnings and watches and advisories kind of right here. This one includes Gillespie County south of Fredericksburg and towards Comfort. That's where rain's kind of thinning out at this point in time, but towards Kerrville and especially west of I-10 is where it's a lot heavier, a lot stronger in nature. Again, none of these storms are producing any hail, but some heavy rain is now moving into Uvalde County and especially Medina County where they need it the most. Lots of heavy rain for Medina Lake and just south of Hondo, south of Highway 90. But good news, western and central San Antonio seeing the action. Again, if you're near Schertz, near St. Hedwig, you're not seeing much. But the farther west you go towards downtown and the west side and towards the north side is where a lot of the rain has fallen in the last hour or two. Stopping the clock, 6:17, heaviest and strongest storm activities right over Somerset, Von Ormy, I-35 south into Laredo and towards Lytle. That's where a lot of the action is producing some good heavy rain. Nothing severe, but cloud to ground lightning, certainly a possibility, so make sure you stay inside. Don't go outside right now, and if you do, be careful. But it is generating a lot of lightning between there and Castroville and Highway 90. Between there and Leon Valley, it starts to improve, but still a moderate rain towards Bandera Road and between there and 1604 and UTSA. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We have some additional development outside of the line of flood aerial advisory criteria, but you'll see near Elmendorf, it's dry, but we have some rain starting to move in your direction, kind of branching off the main thunderstorm action, and more are feeding into it and starting to form ahead of it. So Elmendorf, while you're dry right now, you may see some rain. Hopefully this starts to drift towards St. Hedwig, because I know a lot of folks want the rain out there, but it's really between downtown, China Grove, and pointing farther west where a lot of the rain and the bulk of the action is at this hour. But Lytle getting lit up by a lot of rain south of Hondo, Medina County. Rain's moving towards Sabinal. A little emergency alert we just picked up. Is the hail core heading towards Divine? No, it is not. So just put your mind at ease, Alan. There's no hail core moving towards Divine. Just some good rain moving into Divine as we speak. As a matter of fact, zooming into Divine and I-35, some light to moderate rain. Looks like the bulk of rain will probably miss Divine, but we have more rain the farther north you go, so there'll be kind of rounds of light to moderate rain for that area later on tonight. What I'm watching very closely is probably out farther west, another cluster of rain producing a lot of lightning drifting towards Sabinal, Highway 90, and towards Uvalde. It's dry in Uvalde, it's clear, it's probably sunny in Uvalde right now, but storms are heading in your direction, so probably around 7:30, I would say, for Uvalde. Rains will be moving into your area. But Del Rio, you are clear. Eagle Pass, you are clear. And Crystal City, you are crystal clear on this Monday evening. Cotulla, we have more rain forming. That's down I-35 towards Laredo and Encinal. That's west of McMullen County and west of Tilden and Three Rivers. Some more scattered downpours out near Freer and Duval County. But also same thing out near Alice. But again, that's kind of outside our viewing area and towards Corpus Christi. Bulk of the action is falling where it needs to fall, inside the aquifer zone, inside the recharge zone, and north and northwestern San Antonio, where the drought is continuing. But with this rain and with this week's update and even next week's update, we'll probably see a vast improvement because of this heavy rain falling in the area. So we have, some lingering flash flood warnings. We have rain moving in from the north, but a lot of this is starting to die out. Again, with the loss of daytime heat tonight, a lot of this will not strengthen. We may see a lingering shower, maybe a lingering storm, but a lot of the activity that's happening is really just going to stay focused on this time frame. I would say after 8 o'clock, after sunset, most of this rain comes to an end and it really rains out. Hill Country seeing some light rain. Kerrville, same thing with Utopia and Western Bandera and Real County. And again, we'll keep it on radar for a little while longer, but a lot of these flood advisories and warnings will be in effect at least until 7:30, if not 8:45, especially in our far western counties, but the one in San Antonio should expire. Well, this one's in effect until 9:30, so a lot of heavy rain in central San Antonio from the downtown region towards the south side. We're really going to get hit with some heavy, heavy rain. Moderate rain for the northwest side from Helotes to the Rim and Bernie and Fair Oaks Ranch. But yeah, that's the radar in the last 45 minutes. So the latest, we have a flood warning in effect until 9:34 Bexar County. That's including the downtown area, Castle Hills, Helotes, Von Ormy, Leon Valley, Wolf Stadium, Lackland Air Force Base, meaning anywhere in this particular region, this green area. Rain that continues to fall may result in some minor flash flooding, some high water spots on the road. So please be careful. If you don't have to drive out, don't. Stay inside if you can, just because the roads can be difficult this time of day. Obviously, when you add rain to that equation, it can be very treacherous and difficult. So please be careful out there. With this flash flood warning in effect for the next 2 hours, rain's at least going to last through 8 o'clock, and with any additional rains, that may cause a problem for already soaked areas in San Antonio. So we'll leave it on radar for a little while longer, guys. We'll turn off this right here. Perfect. Nope. There we go. Perfect, perfect. We'll leave it on radar for a little while longer. Stay dry. If you're heading out, stay safe. Go slow. But if you don't have to go out, stay inside and wait for the rain to come to an end. We have additional storms out west towards Camp Wood and towards Rock Springs that will likely drift farther west tonight. But the bulk of activity is really going to stay focused between central San Antonio, between downtown Hondo, Highway 90, and out towards Uvalde for the next hour or two as this storm activity moves farther south.